is really learn to use Java in an efficient way. So basically, we're to perform an operation. Well, if it's a simple operation, we're not gonna write down, I don't know, like 20 lines of code to perform a simple operation. We'll try to be as efficient as possible and really try to not write too much to perform small tasks. If we don't have to write too much, we will not necessarily do it. If we need to write down long codes, well, we'll write down long codes. It's not a big deal. But my goal here is really to help you out, help you being more efficient when you are writing down different lines of code, or basically when you are coding in Java. Finally, it will be, well, another thing that you will be able to do is understanding and being able to use different tricks to write different Java projects. So it's pretty much the same thing as the first one. So basically, you will understand everything that you will write. So my goal here is really not just that you guys do copy and paste. So it's pretty simple. I write something on the screen and you just copy and paste what I'm doing. It's well, it's not gonna be really useful for you guys. My goal is really that you look at the code, listen to what I say, and really try to understand each and every step. And by understanding each and every step, you'll see this is how you will become a better programmer and how you will learn how to program in an efficient way, if we can say it this way. Because once again, if you just do only copy and paste and you're happy because everything works, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have understood how to program in Java. My goal here is really to teach you the logic behind everything, and well, behind Java programming, and that you will be able then to program by yourself, or at least to write down some basic lines of code and really create some basic applications by yourself, because by creating basic applications you will be able to create more advanced things, you will be able to understand more things, and then basically use Java for your own goals. So besides of that, as I said, if you guys are experienced programmers, let's say you have programmed in another programming language, you'll see you should probably already have the logic of programming and writing down codes. So it's gonna be a little bit more easier for you. For everybody else, so basically for all the beginners that have never wrote any single line of code of their life, you'll see it's not gonna be that complicated. Well, maybe you'll find it a little bit complicated, but in my opinion, the most complicated part is really understanding and starting thinking from a programming logic. So it's really getting that logic, but once you have it, once you start thinking like a programmer, if we can say it that way, it's gonna be way more easier, and you'll see it's gonna be it's gonna be automatic. And the more you practice, the more it's gonna be easier. So I'm not gonna tell you that right after this course you'll become a master in Java. No, of course not. You'll have to finish the course and practice everything that you have learned, and by practicing you will become really master of your art. And this is my goal here, is really to basically show you the way, show you everything that you need to know in order to really start out in this programming language, and then grow slowly but steadily by practicing everything that you have learned. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class. Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to Java programming. So in today's class we are going to have a basic introduction to Java and simply talk about this programming language. So we don't have, you'll see in this course there is not a lot of theory, but in my opinion it's really important to talk about the programming language as a whole before going into the programming part. So let's start. Alright, so basically what exactly is Java programming language? So first of all, we can say that Java programming is a programming language used by developers to create various applications. So there is plenty of applications that exists right now that runs on basically Java. We can think of some web applications as an example. For example, when you go on the web, sometimes it will ask you if you want to update Java. So basically this means that those applications are usually run on Java programming language. So what's cool about Java is that it's really useful, especially for huge applications, and it's a world-class programming language. So it's really used everywhere in the world, and it's really popular. So basically, like Python, both of them are really popular programming languages. Besides of that, well, basically, as I said, it's really an amazing programming language. Is it hard to learn? So how hard is programming? This programming language is hard to learn. So we can't really, in my opinion, it's not that it's complicated to learn. It's really understanding the logic behind this programming language. So let's say, for example, you've already programmed in another programming language such as Python or C++. You'll see it's a little bit easier learning another programming language because you have the logic, you understand basically how exactly programming works, what exactly you need to do, and once you get the logic of a certain language, you'll see it's not that complicated. But the problem is when, for example, you start learning your first programming language, yes, it can be a little bit complicated. If, for example, Java is your first programming language, in my opinion, it's going to be a little bit more complicated to learn than Python. But once again, this is from my personal point of view. I know people who found Java way easier than Python, but once again, from my personal point of view, Python is a little bit more easier. But once again, Java has its pros, Python has its pros, and both of the languages are really amazing in my opinion. You can do really amazing stuff with those programming languages. So once again, it's not that I can say that it's hard or not hard to learn. It's really understanding this logic, like the programming logic. And once you get that logic, basically how to program and, well, really the basics of programming, or like the core of programming, you'll see it's not that complicated. All right, so where exactly is Java used? So usually Java is used to build large class applications, so really big business applications. So it works great with the corporate environment, or if you're building a very large scale system. But it can also be used for small tasks. Well, it's less suitable for that, but it can work as well. In my opinion, basically Python is more suitable for really smaller tasks. But if you want to build really high and really huge applications, Java is really a must to learn. Sometimes you will use even two programming languages, so basically you can use Python and Java at the same time. Well, you need to be a little bit more advanced to do that, but it's possible. And basically building applications with Java, well, usually works really, really well when you build big applications with Java. And as I said, it's really an amazing programming language, and it's used everywhere in the corporate world. So it's really, really popular in the corporate world. And if you want to have a job basically in programming, Java in the modern and corporate world is really a must. All right, is Java an object-oriented programming language? So some people say it is, other people say don't. Basically, it doesn't respect all the criteria to be programming, well, an object-oriented language. It respects some of them, but it doesn't respect, well, all of them. So it's not a purely object-oriented language. So I'm not gonna go too much in details. So what exactly I can say about it, for example, primitive data, well, if we talk about, first of all, primitive data types. So for example, in Java, there is no differences between values which are objects and values which are primitive data type, which is not the same thing in a object-oriented language. So if we talk about, for example, in another object-oriented language, which is a pure object-oriented language, values such as integers, booleans, and the other things are also objects. In Java, where we have basically it's a little bit more different. There are predefined types as non-object, so primitive types. If we talk about, for example, the static keyword, well, when we declare a class as a static, then it can be used without the use of an object in Java, for example. If we use, another thing, if we use a static function or static variable, then we can call the function or variable by using a dot. So those are some things that doesn't make Java a pure object-oriented programming language. And once again, there are some properties that it doesn't respect. So once again, it respects some properties. There are 7 of them. I respect some of them, but not all of them. And this is why it's not a pure object-oriented language, even if it respects some of the properties. All right, why programming in Java and why learning this programming language? So first of all, it's one of the most popular programming languages that exists nowadays. In my opinion, this is already a pretty good reason. So if you guys want to start out in the business world and really start out, well, in the programming world, you'll see Java is really a must. You need to know Java basically to work for businesses or to work in the corporate world. So it's really a popular programming language in the corporate industries, in the, well, any type of industries, basically in technologies, in finances, in well, in corporate and business. So it's really popular when once you go in the professional world, and it's a little bit like Python, but Java is really, it's really, well, it's as popular as Python. It's beginner friendly. Even if, in my opinion, it's a little bit harder to learn than Python. It's possible to learn Java as a first programming language, so it's really beginner friendly. There is a lot of communities that exists online that can help you in your learning process. So for those of you who don't know about this, there is a lot of forums online. There is huge communities about well, Python, Java, C++, and other programming languages that exists. And basically, let's say you have a problem with your code, you can write down online and ask questions and say, hey, I'm not able to do this or that doesn't work. And there's a lot of people who are willing to help you out, finding the mistake and basically correcting the mistakes or the errors in your code. And you'll see it's pretty cool when you start programming. There are huge communities. There are places like, for example, GitHub, where people offer their codes for free. So basically, it's open source. You can deposit your code there. Let's say you're creating an application for, I don't know, for a game like, for example, Flappy Bird, and you deposit your code there, and people will simply reuse your code to modify the application, create something that they want, or add something to the code, or other things like this. And what's cool with programming is that sky's the limit. So basically, you can do whatever you want. You can use it for finances, you can use it for business, you can use it for ethical hacking and security, you can use it for data science. So basically, there are plenty of ways that you guys can use those skills, and this is why it's pretty cool programming. And as I said, since Java is really popular, there are huge communities out there. So let's say you are creating a program that will trade for you, so it will open positions in the financial world for you. So you can basically simply upload your code online. Let's say you have some problems, and you will have a lot of people that will be willing to help you out with your code to solve that issue. And people will even retake your code, modify it, and well, basically it's a huge community, and everybody helps everybody. This is why, in my opinion, programming is pretty cool, and Java is a pretty cool programming language because of its popularity and all the resources that you guys have online. So I hope you have a little understanding of what exactly is Java and why it's a good programming language. And if you want to start with it, I hope it motivates you a little bit more. So right now, my goal is really that you have a brief understanding of this programming language. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class. Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to programming with Java. So in this class, we are still going to talk about this programming language, and what we're going to do is pretty simple. I want to basically download everything that we are going to use in order to program in Java. So it's pretty simple. We don't need that much tools. And basically, it's some simple downloads that we are going to do directly from Google. So first thing that we need to download is basically the Java development kit, which is really well, you need to download it in order to be able to program in Java. It's basically the kit that will allow you to write down in this programming language. If you have the description right there, they will explain it way better than me. So this would be the first step. So how to download it? It's pretty simple. You just you just write down this on Google, and you should be redirected to this page right there. So it's made by Oracle, and you will have multiple versions. Personally, I will use the last version for this course. So pretty simple. You just click on GDK download. And from this moment, you will have different options. So if you're on a Mac, it's going to be one of those. If you're on a Linux, you will have to choose one of those packages. Me, personally, I have a Windows, so I'm going to choose this one right there. So I'm not going to download it since I already have downloaded. But it's pretty simple. You just download it, click on next, 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 and it will automatically be downloaded on your computer. So once again, it's, well, downloading Java will allow you to write down, the Java development kit will allow you to basically write down codes with the Java programming language, and it's really important to basically have it in order to write down in this language. All right, this is the first step. So once you have downloaded the Java programming language, the next step is pretty simple. It's really downloading your text editor. And a brand that I like a lot for text editors, and I pretty much use all their products for any programming language, is JetBrains. So what I'll ask you guys to do is simply write down JetBrains. If you have any other app developers that you like, or any other text editor that you guys like, you are free to use it, but for the purpose of this course, we are going to use their tool. So pretty simple, you just click on this thing right there, All Developers Tool, and here you will have access to basically everything that, well, all the text editors that you guys need. And for the purpose of this, well, this one is for Python, so PyCharm, I really love it. And for the purpose of this course, the one that we're going to use is this one right there. So it's IntelliJ IDEA. It's pretty simple, just click on it, and that's the one that we are going to use. So as you can see, there are plenty of other things right there. So as I said, the one that we are going to use will be this one right there. So IntelliJ, IntelliJ. So pretty simple, we're going to use this one in order to program in Java. Another way to find it, if you can't find it, just click on Java, and it should be right there. So it's going to be this one. So pretty simple, you download it. It works pretty much the same way to download. So when you click on the download button, you will have two versions. You will have a paid version right there, or you will have a community version that is open source. So pretty simple, just click on the community version, and this way you guys will have access to it completely for free. So just click on the download button, it will appear right there, and you guys will have access to it. So once it's downloaded, the logo should look something like this. Well, you should have it. It should look something like this, just right there. You should be on a page that looks like this. And basically right now you have access to, well, you have your text editor that is downloaded on your machine, and you have the Java language that is downloaded as well. So you are able to start writing out your code. So it's pretty simple. Then next step will simply be creating a project. We can just click on new project, and here you can create your project. So here we go, we'll name it project 1. So this is where you want to save it and finish. Great, so right now the project have been created. Won't use the tips. Here we go. So once again, if you want to create your project, I repeat once again, you go here on File, you click on New Project, and pretty simple, you will have your project. So in next class, we are going to start talking more about the programmation part. You'll see it's not that complicated. And yeah, we'll really start out from the basics. But until now, you guys should have basically installed the programming language, the text editor, which is really important in order to write down your code. And you should have understood how to create your own project. Here it is. So we have our project 1 that is ready. All right, so that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class. Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to programming with Java. So basically in the past few classes we have downloaded our text editor, and basically we now know how to set up everything, and now it's time to create our project and write our first lines of code. So you'll see it's not that complicated to do. So if I'm not mistaken, in the past few classes we have created our first project, so it's pretty simple. I'll redo it right now in order just to be sure that you guys understand how to do it. So you just go in File, then you go in New and New Project, and now you simply select Groovy. You click on Next. Here you write down the name of your project, so it could be Project 1, Project 2, and when it's done you simply click on Finish and it should be created. So once created, you simply click right here, so your project should be there. Here, for example, I have my project 1, that is right there. Alright, so when everything is done, now it's time to start writing out our code. So how exactly we write down our code, and basically how exactly can we get access to our code? It's pretty simple. So you have your idea right here, out src. So you'll go on your src and simply right click. You'll go on New. And from here, you will be able to create, different things. So you'll be able to create Java classes, but also packages, files, and other things. You select Java class. And then what we'll do, we'll simply have to give a name to our class. So I'll just name it, let's say I'll name it Hello. So here we go, my class is created. So when it's all done, I just click on the class. So as you can see, guys, what's going to happen is that we will have this little thing right there that will appear. And it's public class hello. So right now, what's gonna happen is that we are going to write down our first code. So pretty simple. I'm going to, it's pretty simple. We're going to write down our first code, which is really printing hello world, which is by default in all programming languages, the basic thing. So at the meantime, we're going to learn some little basics. So once again, I'm not gonna go too much in details. But my goal here is really for you guys to understand how to write down that code. Alright, so basically in the code that we are going to write, it's divided in 3 parts. So first part is writing down our class. So we have it right there, which is public class. The name of our class is hello. So basically this is where we are going to create our code. So we are going to create it in the class that is named hello. Then the next step will be writing down the methods that we are going to use, which will be public static void main. So those will be the methods that we are going to use. And then finally writing down our printing line of code, which will allow us to print our code. So if we go step by step, so as I said, first step is writing down our class. So the class should be automatically generated. So your class name is hello, so you should be public class hello. Now next step is pretty simple, is writing down our, basically in this case our method. So it's gonna be public, so you have it right there. Then the second thing will be static void, and finally main. So here we go. Now when everything is written down, the next thing will be writing down string, since we're going to use string, and arguments. Also, another thing, in Java, you need to use those parentheses as well. So basically, when you open up a new class, you are going to use this parentheses right there. And then what you want to do is open up another parentheses to basically add in the methods that we are going to use. So basically, if we work for those lines of code, if we work with this method, we're going to open up those parentheses, and everything that we are going to write has to be inside of those parentheses. So basically, those are the methods that we are going to use for the next lines of code that we are going to write down. So pretty important, if you don't write if you don't write inside of those parentheses, it's not gonna work. So if you decide to write down your elements somewhere right here, it's not necessarily gonna work how we want it to work. So it might work, but it's not gonna be as we want it to work. So if you need to be a little bit more advanced to do it. All right, so next thing is pretty simple, is writing down our line of code, which is asking Java to basically print something. So how exactly we print something? It's pretty simple. So we ask our system. So it's going to be system dot out dot print ln. So pretty important, we are going to print out our elements. So here what exactly we want to print is pretty simple. We want to print our basic lines of code, which in this case will be hello world. So we'll just ask the program to print hello world. So let's do it. So we'll write down hello and finally world. Great. So when everything is done, the next step will be running our program. So how exactly can we run our program? So usually it's simply by clicking right there. But if this button doesn't work, what you want to do is simply go on run right here. So you'll click on run, and here you will choose what exactly you want to run. So here I have a few classes. I have hello, I have hi, I have hi kids. So basically I'm choosing to run hello. So it's right here. So what I want to do right now is simply run it. Now what I want to do is basically see what I have run. So where exactly I will see it? I will see it inside of my terminal. So my terminal is basically right here. So right there, run. So this is my terminal. So basically there it is. As you can see, hello world. Now let's say I want to add some other lines of code to it. So we still going to stay with the basics right now. So right now, congratulations. First of all, you have written down your first program in Java. But now let's say we want to print some other things right here. So how exactly we will print it? So pretty simple. You can just recopy this function right there. So you copy it and you can pass it right there. So basically in here you just change the hello world. So instead of writing down hello world, you can just write down my name is XYZ. And I can run it. So what's going to happen right now is that we are going to have two lines of code. So we're going to have hello world, my name is XYZ. Another really important thing in Java is using this point comma as well. So pretty important to use it. If, for example, I decide to not use it, I take it out. What's going to happen is that I'm going to have an error message. So as you can see, I need to use this point comma, so pretty important. So as you can see in Java, there are some, so for those of you who already have some basic experience with the programming, basically the text editor is pretty much the same, but for the rest, it's some slightly differences. So pretty important. How exactly we are going to write down the code, let me just repeat it again. So first step, writing down our class, so it's going to be automatically generated. So public class, in this case we are using the hello class, so we gave the name hello to our class. Then the second step is pretty simple, is calling out our methods, the methods that we are going to use. Here it is, this is our method. And finally the line of code, in this case it's going to be print ln, so basically system.out.println, and the line basically what we want to print. In this case, the only thing that we want to print is hello world. So we can print some more advanced things such as operations and all those things, but we're going to talk about those things in the next few classes. So for the moment, congratulations, you have written down your first lines of code. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next class. Hello guys, and welcome back to another class of our course about the complete introduction to programming with Java. So basically in today's class we are going to talk about different data types that exist in this amazing programming language, and you'll see there is plenty of them. So pretty simple, we can say that there are three categories of data types in Java. So it's a little bit different from other programming languages. Well, the categories are